Yes, that is in the discussion board assignment. Next week, we are going to do a review on Tuesday and that horrible, yeah, I know. So, so this is from a year and a half ago, essentially. 2 years almost now. But some of the details and things that are in here, so I'm not going to look through all 200, and in this case, I think there's 200 and some pages. But what I wanted to do is look at some of the items that NIST is looking at. So just their table of contents here. Security of the power grids. Is that a security issue that we're facing right now? Is it becoming more and more of an issue? Well, and there are, so we have some issues with the power grids from the infrastructure standpoint of them not being very robust. And one of the weird things we have around here going on, although I think a lot of states now are getting, is the wind power. And so the wind power contributes to that grid problem because you can't isolate small areas anymore. Because one of the problems with wind power, a turbine in this area that shuts down because there's not enough wind, it's generating or was generating power, so somebody has to pick up that slack, so those grids become even more important. Well, the other thing that's happening is there's a system called SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, and what we found is there's huge security holes in them. And so that's the one I gave a quick story about the wastewater treatment center in a small town that had the password of SHIT. And it was publicly available. And so we're going to look at how we can scan across the entire internet in a couple of weeks, and you're going to see that there's all kinds of those systems hanging out there. So I'm going to scroll down through some of this document and find the opening remarks. So cybersecurity and cyber physical systems workshop. So what I wanted to look at here was, we talk a lot about NIST, or I mention it quite a bit. Go back up. So there's part of their research laboratories. So of your federal funding, they spend for about 3,000 employees. What do they do? So they have engineering, information technology, physical measurement. So you were talking about taking corn to a silo. They actually deal with how do we measure weights and measures and things like that. So here's an example of a smart grid. Cybersecurity challenges. So one of the issues, and what you're actually seeing smoking right there a little bit on that picture, is actually a generator system that was attacked via the web on purpose, and they can actually destroy a generator. So if you don't understand how electric runs, electricity is kind of a wave from positive to negative. And they have to, those generators and on that grid, they have to be synchronized. By trying to put that generator into the grid unsynchronized, it literally destroyed itself. And so there's been some attack vectors that have actually done damage to things like this. So what about this? And this one frightens me a little bit. How many of us in our lifetime are going to have some kind of implantable medical device? Do you know anybody with a pacemaker? What if we could compromise that pacemaker? You could kill people, literally. So as we become more and more cyberized, so things like pacemakers, cochlear implants, if you know somebody that has one of those. What about people that are on insulin pumps? What if you were able to compromise an insulin pump on somebody that was wearing one and shove in 4 to 6 or 8 or 10 times as much insulin as what they should normally need? What about people that have some kind of neurostimulator or other issues? So the reality is these could all be damaging, and they all hold data. And they all are compromisable. We talk about cars now, that is it going to be possible to compromise car security from a distance? And so one of the reasons a lot of cars, why don't you ask, well, why don't we update the software on my car via wireless like we do my computer? And some vehicles do. So if you have a Ford, some of the Ford MySyncs can actually push out data what kind of scary is that when you could disable brakes or other things? So this is kind of an interesting document. I'll give you a link to it in there. And you'll see that, so what about if we, did blah, blah, blah. There's patient health. So there's, like I said, this one alone is like 250 pages. Here's automobile safety and countermeasures. What about communications in cars? So here is one that I had grabbed out of here. We talk about the vehicles, and so there actually have been some test trials, and people have actually managed to do this. So they managed to attack a vehicle by an MP3 file that's connected to an MP3 phone. How many of you get in your vehicle and your phone is connected to that MP3 player in your car with Bluetooth? Mine? Yeah. So they found a weakness in the Bluetooth stack. They got access to what's called the CAN, or that bus network in the car. They could actually send contacts in and got one vehicle wheel to lock up at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, but who's going to do that other than like terrorists and extremists that want to take out politics?
How about people that might want to do it just for giggles? Script kiddies. So I just wanted to point out some of those issues. What I want us to do now, let me go over here and find my mouse, is I'm going to start a video and we're going to look at Cyber Siege. So this is Cyber Siege in a video introducing it. So it's about 5 minutes. All right, while this is playing, if you guys would log into Blackboard, please. And if you will go to course documents, you will see that on the bottom there's an update for Cyber Siege. Course documents, and there's an update for Cyber Siege if you will install that on the computer that you're on. Is it? I did a little update. Yep, go ahead and open and let it run. Yeah, you do. It's on there. Unless it's been removed. It's on there. But this is just an update to the original installation. So. Okay, click yes. Okay. Click next. Yep. Yep. just click next on all of them. All right, so this is just an introduction to the game, and what I wanted to point out is that all of this game, and in fact all of information security, really is that idea of a balancing act. So we could take away everybody's computers and we're not going to have computer security issues, right? But we're also not going to get anything done. So I've asked all the campus students, but there's actually two pieces you need to install to get Cyber Siege. On Blackboard, you need both the original setup, which you'll need that password Gristalis, and then the update to get up to the current level for Cyber Siege. So everybody in the live class should have got that. I'm going to install it really, really quickly, the update. It shouldn't take very long at all to run, and it's a fairly small update. Next. Oh, well, I guess if I had it installed correctly to start with. Course documents. Hold on, let me install this real quick. I forgot we changed out computers up here, which is okay. I guess I'll wait 2 minutes while I download. My bad. We installed a brand new computer up there. We didn't install that yet. Now I feel like a hat-wearing fool. Is that already on Facebook, John? Nice. Nice. Let me at least see while we're... Oh. Nice. Nice. It could be worse. It could be worse. All right, let me wait patiently while this is downloading. Where is Tim? I don't. Because I had to update the original program to start with. Yep, they have a game. I'm trying to think where it's at. Baker's University? What, do I want to know what you did? Okay. Okay. Nice. Well, technically, now, that would have been violating our academic integrity code, but hopefully she did, hopefully she learned the lesson there about not leaving things open. All right, let me install this real quick. So this is the full-blown installation then. Next, I do want to accept the agreement. And that is where it's... Well, if I can spell right. Okay, so let me finish that installation. Yeah, maybe we don't need microphones on every desk. I can only imagine. Okay. Does this happen a lot? You just burst into song lyrics when you're.
Stop that. She doesn't know how to song.
Oh, so
I've been a country fan until about a year ago.
well, I'm not sure Brad Paisley, quite frankly, is a really purely country artist. So
Yeah, like he can, he's a good transition one. He's like the gateway drug.
gateway drug of country music. I was just gonna say because I actually went to him in concert, and he's a very good guitar player, and he did quite a few like old Dire Straits songs.
He did Dust on the Bottom. That was great.
There we go. Okay. Yes. All right. So one of the resources I want to point you to here is where Cyber Siege came from, and we'll look at that real quick. So if you search for Cyber Siege, it's kind of an ugly address. Yeah, it is a government contract. So if I search for Cyber Siege, I link to cisr.us/cyber siege, and that gives us a little bit of details about the game. And then if I click on the left-hand side over here from syllabus, that's where I actually got the first movie there about risk and scenarios. So this actually gives you an approximate idea of how many minutes each scenario is going to take to complete. And so quite frankly, if you go through everything, in theory, the average user is going to take 760 minutes to go through that. Luckily, we're not going to do all of that for you. So down here at the bottom then this was the first video that you saw. There's the stop the worms scenario. So if I click on it, it gives us a lab manual on how to stop worms and viruses. So I encourage you to click on that so you have that document available. And so we're going to go through this scenario, or start you on that scenario in here in class today. So access Cyber Siege. And so it goes through how to do this entire game, at least in this scenario. So if I start Cyber Siege, and on these computers it doesn't have an icon, so you will have to just type cyber and it should pop up. Now, one detriment to doing it here in the lab is it will save it only here on that lab computer. Some games will save online, like like Steam's network or something. This doesn't necessarily do that. But it's got some very so okay. So this is what Cyber Siege looks like. We're in the training campaign. We're in the stop worms. And if I can navigate to, I have to scroll down to get to it. I'm going to click, can you? And we're going to click play. Play. So we do want a new game, yes. Well, that is if I can get the mouse on this remote. Okay, so it gives us a scenario. You work for Bortsoft or something. Your boss puts you in charge of preventing new employees from spreading email and viruses. Yeah, what a great first beginning to your job. So, and it is a 3D video game. So you'll find you can navigate around. That's why the document gives you some advantage, because you can now see what's going on. It's a little harder to see here but if you notice, I can now navigate around into these rooms. I can look at network components. I can look at individual components. I can look at users. So you notice if you click on items, you can actually change scenarios. And you can actually, there are actually little videos. Wow, email with a cute attachment. What should I do? You better talk to Joe. He's about to do something really dumb. Well, yeah. So you can spend money. You can spend training dollars. So that documents in terms of how to use that. You probably should peruse through that and read it before you jump too far into this game. Just a thought. It's like reading the directions, Wessel. But yeah, the little email thing is kind of frightening. So the malicious software exploited. Holy sheep shears! I hope nobody else saw that. So we can click on his computer, and so we can change things on his computer. So is there a setting that maybe we need to change right here? What setting might change that we would? So maybe we go over here and we change his email settings to strict. And all of these kinds of changes have a cost, and that's one of the things that this is hopefully going to show you. So we can also change browser settings, password settings. So now we can go back to our game. Now we can see what's going on. My machine keeps crashing. Joe's computer's a mess. Worms are oozing everywhere. So some of the comments are even kind of interesting. Aha. Okay.
What does that mean? It's good, or?
Yeah, I believe the happy face says good thing.
Can I go over here and check out Mary's? What's going on with her?
She says, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
She's pissed because I made password strict.
And some of the users are going to be mad.
Pretty soon I'm going to take a nap. Well, we got to change that. Click on him, say no naps.
Objective.
Did I remember to?
Start the game. So what should I do with her?
Another day, another dollar. Very simple font.
Tired of worms. News tired. Okay. So she's experienced here. Okay, look at this.
So if you notice, then it has a happy workers are better workers? Oh. So, no webmail for Joe. And you laugh about that and you think, well, how bad is webmail? And yet, not too far from here, I know of a server that got compromised because somebody decided they're going to open their Gmail account while they're surfing on the server itself.
You know, you can move the people around.
Yes.
So maybe if I put this on a bigger app, have it to reach the fire, but
Try that. That's the fun thing about this is you can try these kinds of scenarios. Game over. Well, no, I just have that because I wasn't able to react to poor Joe's email in time. So now we're back at Joe. So let me hit the play button. Wow, email with a cute kitchen. So with a cute kitten, that was Joe again. You took away. Well, so you can look at everything from networks to users to their password length. It will tell you when the scenario's done. Because it'll return you back. I just kind of like the scary approach of that. So that's Cyber Siege in a real quick nutshell. Let me stop the recording. So